Okay, hi everybody. I'm just going to do a quick video today, and I'm going to talk about the group mind, and I'm going to read a little bit from a book that I think has some good quotes about the group mind and the occult. And I'll do a little bit of a channel update at the end of this as well. And so today I'm just going to film my gemstones for the visual, just for fun. These are just little groups of different gemstones. Basically, I have a bunch of polished rose quartz. I have some really nice orange carnelian here. And that little black sheep is an Apache tear. So, and I think those two big yellow ones are yellow calcite. I'm not sure what else they could be. And this one is a rock that I picked up when I was hiking at Goblin Valley. Look at the texture and the color in that. I'll start off by telling you guys about this dream that I had 9 or 10 months ago. I remembered it recently, and it got me thinking about the whole group mind dynamic. And in the dream, there was a huge crowd of people, and they were surrounding Hillary Clinton. And I was there, but I stood back to the side and just watched the whole thing go on. I wasn't a part of the crowd. I was just observing. But this crowd was around Hillary, and it was just like a crowd of people from the public, and I assume that there were a lot of her supporters were in the crowd because everything started out seemingly normal. But so this whole crowd started to become hostile towards Hillary in the dream. And her response in my dream was that she had a Sumerian demon inside of her, and the demon roared out at the people and tried to gain control of the crowd. Only it didn't work. The frenzy of the crowd was too strong, and it built up and it built up, and then they overwhelmed her, and that was the end of the dream. And she was done for. And I swear, it's like that was totally symbolic of what I think is happening with her whole political career, and I do think she's done for. I don't think she's going to be president, that's for sure, but I think we might actually see her get indicted, and public opinion has definitely shifted gears about her. But just the fact that we even have like a Bush and a Clinton who are running, it's like, how could the people from those families still be coming back to the political arena after everything they've done if the group mind wasn't really managed? And I don't know. I mean, obviously the media has a huge influence on the group mind, and I know that at different times in history with different forms of media, that's probably not been. I think it's getting easier for them to manage the group mind because of the way that our media is going. And in the past, it seems to me like the church and religion were used a lot more to control, whereas now it is the actual mass media. And tools like the computer and internet and the television obviously have a huge influence on all that. And I do think that the group mind is, and I don't even know the extent of this, but I do know the group mind is changed by knowing that they're under surveillance. I know that the individual's mind is changed by knowing they're under surveillance, and it affects behavior, and I think it's going to affect mass behavior, actually. But we see different group mind dynamics on the internet especially in the form of movements, like the whole truther movement. And within that group mind, there are a lot of variances, but overall, there's like a group mind that surrounds that whole idea. More specifically, like you can take like the flat earther movement, which I did a previous video about. I don't agree, but I don't want to argue about it. I'm just pointing out that that's like a real good example of a group mind that formed around a subject matter that everybody's emotionally passionate about. And I really think the internet has an effect on the group mind that can be really profound and profoundly toxic, actually, because the group is not in the same space physically. It's a mental space, and it's in a mental and emotional space. And so I think a lot can get stirred up that would not be possible if everybody was physically in proximity to each other. Physical presence has a powerful effect on mind and group dynamics. And I think the group dynamic is very changed by the internet. And I think that actually, in some ways, too, a lot of mob mentality happens on the internet because really, and I'm going to read a little bit from Dion Fortune's book, Applied Magic. She has a chapter on the group mind that is really profoundly interesting. And she talks about how, the mob mentality basically disperses very rapidly, almost as rapidly as it forms, because the mob doesn't have a cohesion. They don't have a continuity of existence. They just came together around something that like ignited their passion, usually anger, but oftentimes mob mentality can happen around something positive. And, once that's all resolved or the mob gets broken up by the police, it's over. With the internet, we kind of see the same thing sometimes around news stories where, like, suddenly something goes viral and the whole kind of mob mentality forms around it. And then, next week, that's old news. That's already over. It happens rather quickly on the internet. So, as opposed to like the mob mentality, really the group mind is something that will have more continuity. I'll read a little bit of what she says about it. She says, whenever such continuity of attention and feeling has been brought about, a group mind or group elemental is formed, which with passage of time develops an individuality of its own and ceases to be dependent for its existence upon the attention and emotion of the crowd that gave it birth. And once this occurs, the crowd no longer possesses the power to withdraw its attention or to disperse. The group elemental has its grip. The attention of each individual is attracted and held in spite of himself. So this is, the power of like a religious group mind can overwhelm an individual. It can definitely suppress all kinds of things. If you are born into, say, like a religious group mind that is very anti-sexuality and very repressive, you're going to be under that influence probably for the rest of your life unless you really break free. It takes a great deal of energy, I think, for people to break out of these group mind imprints that happen when you're really young. Because if you think about it, the mind of a developing child is far more influenced by this kind of stuff than the mind of an adult who's already formed a lot of ideas. And an adult who has a sense of individuality can walk into a group mind and never really be affected or drawn in by it. You know what I mean? So if you really apply this kind of stuff to the occult and a lot of the different secret societies, it gets really interesting. Let me find this part where she says, considered with an understanding of crowd psychology, it becomes obvious that the method of the mysteries and the secret fraternities of all ages is based upon practical experience of its facts. What could be more conducive to the formation of a powerful group mind than the secrecy, the special costume, the processions, and the chantings of an occult ritual? Now think about it, like what she's talking about as well is the fact that a group elemental can form around a group ritual. And that elemental can have a great deal of effect on a person. And so I'm thinking like with things like the Super Bowl ritual, that's obviously what they're trying to do. And she says, anything which differentiates a number of individuals from the mass and sets them apart forms a group mind automatically. The more a group is segregated, the greater the difference between it and the rest of mankind. The stronger is the group mind thus engendered. She says, yes, truly it is the blood of the martyrs. truly is the blood of the martyrs the seed of the church, for it is the cement of the group mind. There you have it. And think about this in relation to the military-industrial complex. And definitely, she says the group mind or ritual elemental acts upon the participants in the ceremony in exactly the same way as the mob emotion can act upon a city of men when they're all like angry at one person. So it's like basically the mob mentality, is a short-lived group mind, but it acts upon the individual, and she says they are lifted out of themselves. They are more than human for a moment, for a group elemental formed of the appropriate emotion is just as capable of raising consciousness to the level of angels as of lowering it to the level of beasts. And this is why, she points out at the beginning of this chapter, this is why we see, a situation where a mob develops and men and women who individually would never act that way are suddenly becoming very violent. And I see the group mind and the way it works on the internet. And I think actually some of these movements can be very conducive to actually real change. And that is why they are so interested in identifying and infiltrating things like the so-called truther movement, which is heavily infiltrated and influenced. So there's like, basically with, I think, and this is where I was starting to go with some of my understanding of frequencies in a recent video. I think that with a group mind, anytime you have a lot of different crowd of people, what's happening is with people's thoughts and emotions, they are creating standing waves. So a lot of times the people who are making the most noise are the ones who are the most invested in the group mind, in either maintaining or reinforcing and forming it. So anyway, that's all I want to talk about. As far as my channel goes, I'm still going to kind of go on and off with the comments. I do keep them on approval most of the time because I just don't put up with the trolling. There's a lot of people who are just more interested in social gaming and gossip and BS. They're not interested in the work. Now, like with that UFO video I made, it was too long and too brain farty. It's just a bad video, so I threw it down in my unlisted videos. And usually if I take down a video, it goes down into the unlisted, unless it's really bad, or I somehow change my mind and disagree with myself on something. So, you know, some of my videos are just going to be temporary, because I'm just kind of shooting the shit and putting something out there. And so I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of that. So I guess that's all I can think of at the moment. I hope everybody has a good day.